Good morning, guys. Quick update for you today. I'm going to walk you through what we've kind of been working on, some updates about camping and stuff like that, and I'm just gonna tell you quickly that we passed our plumbing inspection. So basically, I had mentioned in previous videos that we had the ABS full of water about halfway, I believe, last time I updated, and that was about, I don't know, 10 days ago or more, and we filled it right to the rooftop and it held pressure. So you can see here we had a garden hose hooked up, we filled it with water and it kept pressure, and we kept checking the level line of the water up top for about 10 days until plumbing inspection happened, and it all held water and we had no leaks, which is awesome. And then also we had our copper filled with air, and I'll show you that upstairs. We had a pressure gauge on it and filled it with air to 60 psi, and all of our copper held air, so that is awesome. So you can see here, I can't remember the last time I've kind of showed you this area, but the pressure tank is full of water. Our softener is in now, the lid is right there, and everything is run, and we actually have use of water. Dad hooked it up to the panel outside so that we can have a garden hose hooked up at least. So that is actually how we filled it with water, was because we hooked up our well line to the pressure tank and then hooked up the switch to the panel outside. So that is good. As you can see, all of this is run now with copper, and the only thing that we haven't done for plumbing that we didn't have included in our plumbing inspection was the recirc pump. So they were really hard to get a hold of this summer, and we actually have a whole recirc line for hot water in the house. Because the main bath is at the other end of the house and the hot water heater is here, basically it would take 5 to 10 minutes to get hot water back in the back bathroom. So the recirc line keeps the hot water in the line at the taps at all time, and the line is run, the copper is run, just we don't have the actual pump yet. So that we can add in anytime, but all the lines are pressurized and not leaking, so we passed our inspection and we can add the recirc pump anytime. So let me just hook the sump pump back up. I just had to unplug it so that I could run the lights quickly, but I wanted to show you that. So you'll see here that everything is capped off so that we could fill with water. And then now that that is done, we can cut off those caps, add in our drains, and some of them are missing P-traps and stuff like that. So I'll show you that quickly upstairs. All right, moving upstairs. I'll show you. So here is like our laundry sink drain, and you can see it's all capped off, so that'll be cut, and then it'll have a P-trap attached, and then the sink. Laundry, same thing. It's actually got a reusable cap here, so that one we just twist off, and then same with all the sinks and everything will be cut off. And here is where we filled the copper with air. So we just hooked up our compressor hose to this and filled it with air, and we managed to keep it at 60 psi for quite a few days. All right, so you can see behind me, the cathedral is insulated. I'm not sure if I ever updated on that, but it is all done. And when the building inspector was here for the plumbing, we kind of had some questions about the insulation, because we do plan to do blow-in bats for the ceiling. Other than the cathedral, you can see up here there's no insulation yet, and that is because that happens after. So we have to vapor barrier all of what's insulated so far. Now that the plumbing is done, we get to insulate in the cavities that have plumbing. Like I said, that's why we didn't really move forward past that point. But so anyways, we get to vapor barrier now. And then we asked about the blow-in bats because we weren't sure if the vapor barrier would hold our 60, which ends up being like 22 inches of insulation in the ceiling. And we were concerned about the weight on the vapor barrier. So basically he said because our next inspection is vapor barrier insulation, what they do is actually allow you to do your vapor barrier, get it inspected without the insulation in the attic, and then do your drywall and just make a note in their file stating that the insulation wasn't done yet and to check it after drywall. So that way the drywall can hold the weight of the insulation, which is awesome. So yeah, now that we are to the point where we're going to be vapor barrieing, we basically get to vapor barrier the house, have inspection come back quickly, check that out, and then we get to start drywalling the ceilings. And then once the ceilings are drywalled, we'll insulate the attic and we'll drywall the walls. So that is update on the house, I believe. Quick update on Kyle. He is off for a month off of work. He took a stress leave, and it has a lot to do with the pandemic. As most of you know, he is in healthcare, and it has been really, really rough on nurses and RPNs and PSWs and all of that. They worked all throughout the pandemic, and now in Canada, they are threatening to fire people if they don't have the vaccine, and Kyle is very unsure. And I know this has a bunch of controversy over it, but we just have not decided whether or not we want the vaccine yet. And he's taking some time off because, one, basically he'll be fired if he doesn't get it, and two, if he does get it, it might be against what he believes. So he's taking some time off. I believe everybody that worked through the pandemic should have a break because the rest of the world basically did. They were all off on unemployment and that. So if you know a nurse or somebody in the healthcare field, check in on them. It's been really rough on them the last couple years for sure. So yeah, Kyle is off, which is actually perfect timing because of the drywall. He'll be here to help us drywall the entire house, which is good. And update on Matthew, he is done his schooling. However, because it's winter, I don't even know if I actually updated on Matthew. Anyways, Matthew went through for heavy equipment operator. It took, I want to say 3 months. I don't remember how long actually. But anyway, so he's done, he is passed, and he's just waiting for his certificate. But it is winter, and in Canada, the ground is frozen, so a lot of people are using a lot less equipment. So finding a job right now is quite difficult. But once again, it works out great because we are doing drywall, and between Matthew and Kyle, they are the strongest out of all of us. So anyways, that is update for that. And let's just update, I guess, about camping. So as for camping, the last 2 times I had mentioned that we were going for a weekend and then we were going for a week, 2 different spots. And the first weekend was absolutely horrendous. Everything went wrong from the time that we left the driveway to the time we got back. And it just seemed like everything wanted to go wrong. We were all sick with colds, and it was just, I mean, we had a good time. We played horseshoes, we played disc golf, and, you know, had a lot of fun, but it was still, I want to say, more problematic than anything. So when we left here, I ended up hitting my trailer against some trees because of the roundabout here, and there was cars parked, and anyways, so literally from the time we left the driveway was awful. And then when we came back, on the way back, we ran out of gas because our gas gauge isn't working in our truck. So we ran out of gas on the major highway, which was terrifying. And luckily we were where my uncle lives, so he happened to be like 20 minutes away, and he was able to get us gas, which was really awesome that it worked out that way. But so that weekend, yeah, we had great time, but I just felt like crap the whole time. And then we just got back, and from our last trip, we went 5 days. The kids were able to go to school still, and we tried to relax, and there was still just a lot to do. Like, we came back for the plumbing inspection, and Kyle had the doctor's appointment to get on the stress leave, and just like a whole bunch of stuff. And then the last day and a half was when we actually finally started to relax, and then we had to come home. So now it is back to the grind. and tomorrow is Monday morning, and we are actually going to try and call hydro to get our hydro disconnected so that we can start digging a trench to transfer over our meter and our hydro to permanent service, because right now we just have a temporary service. And so the hydro has to be unhooked, then we can get an excavator and start digging, and then we fill the trench with sand and our conduit and stuff like that, and then hydro can come back after it's inspected, hook back up to the meter, and then we can hook up to the main panel downstairs, which means we could technically, which actually, another update, you can see here, I have started wiring in outlets and switches. So technically, once we get the hydro switched over, we could have hydro in this entire house, which is kind of cool. But then again, you're not really supposed to use it until after final inspection, but we can utilize outlets and put in lights if we really needed to, because winter is coming and it gets dark sooner. So we're going to need light in here. And then also one last thing we have to do outside while we have the excavator is hook up our outlet to our septic tank, because now that the plumbing is done, we get to hook up to our drains to our septic tank, and then also hook up the wiring for our effluent pump outside. So those will be the last two things outside until next year, and even then outside is pretty much done other than like topsoil and seed. And honestly, like the majority of the area already has topsoil. The front has a big pile of dirt of topsoil out front that we get to spread next year, and we get to seed it, and then the outside is completely done, which is insane. We have some lights and outlets to put outside, which I have to actually run down to the city to grab a light, because Mom ended up getting 3 free lights, and the only place I can find my 4th one that I need is down in the city. So I have to run to the city one day and get it, hopefully before winter, so that we can get all the lights up outside. There's already 2 on the garage that you guys saw that are up. I can put my chandelier up in the front porch. So yeah, lots going on. I feel like it's crunch time, obviously, again, before winter. We always get down to crunch time before winter, and we know we can't have heat until we have painted in the house, which is frustrating because we're working against the clock, but we are going to just keep chipping away at it and getting as much done as we can. Thankfully, Kyle is off the month, and we get to hopefully work every day, all day, until it is drywalled and painted. So that is going to be this week's quick update, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see you next time. Bye.